welcome back to our Steve Judd. It's so lovely to be with him again. My name is Sue Brain, and today we're going to be talking about the moons in November because they're shortly coming up. So, Steve, it's so lovely to see you back from your travels, your filming. I know we're going to be talking about that in a minute, but we're going to just start off with what you feel about the new moon that's coming up in Scorpio on the 4th of
We've talked
November.
about we've talked about the upcoming transits during October and November for quite a time now.
Mm.
And now here we are, kind of 2, 3 weeks in, with about a week and a half to go. But
Mm.
we're at the thin end of the wedge now. As we speak, Mars is at 24, 25 degrees of Cancer opposite Pluto. And yes, Mars is coming up to exactly oppose Pluto. Now, on the new moon, which is on the 1st of November, Mars and Pluto will be less than 3/4 of a degree apart in opposition, both at 29 degrees of Cancer.
That's pokey stuff for people in astrology, isn't it? The 29 degrees is the anaretic degree. It's very intense. Mm.
Very. Now, there are a lot of positives here. Mars is not only opposing Pluto at the time of the new moon, it's also strongly trining Neptune, sextiling Uranus, trining Mercury. There's a Mercury-Uranus opposition at the new moon, and Mercury will be trining Mars, trining Neptune in a grand trine, and sextiling Pluto. So there's a lot of nice aspects around. And Mercury opposite Uranus isn't something that I'm going to get too worried about because whilst it will be dramatic, Mercury opposite Uranus never get in. There's always something going on with that. It'll be quick.
Do you think there'll be kind of an explosive revelation or something like that?
I certainly think with Mercury approaching 29 Scorpio the day after the new, at 29 Scorpio the day after the new moon, I think there's a lot of sudden upsurge in secrets
Yeah.
and revelation
Mm.
coming out just at the new moon.
Not comfortable.
Not comfortable
Not
at all.
comfortable. No.
With Mercury opposite Uranus, Mercury at the very end of Scorpio, and Mars opposite Pluto. Yes, they might be in nice trine with sextiles with each other, but this is powerful stuff.
Well, it's the Pluto Mars for me, which is very, very explosive, isn't it?
The Mars Pluto is explosive, whether that's literal or metaphorical. And Mercury opposite Uranus with Mercury at 29 Scorpio is going to be revelatory and a lot of secrets suddenly coming to the surface.
Yes.
And with the American election happening 4 days after this, it tells me that there's a lot more things to come out of the woodwork yet.
Mm.
Now, you also have to weigh in the ongoing warfare in Ukraine and the Middle East. Now, as astrologers, we cannot be seen to be taking sides because to do so opens us up to so much criticism.
Yes, that is true. Just see, I just want to say something. I'd read something this morning and I just wondered if you caught it, is that a lot of the Israeli soldiers that are coming back from fighting in Gaza are having raging PTSD. And we know that a lot of Russian soldiers have got PTSD. We know Ukrainian soldiers have got PTSD. And for me, I was just thinking about, and I used to work with soldiers with PTSD. It's fighting each other, killing each other, maiming each other, torturing each other, goes against this, our soul's desire for what love is about. And I just wanted to put that in. And I wondered, this Jupiter, this Pluto opposite Mars it's kind of bringing all of that up. And I just wondered where you were with that.
Well, At the moment, I'm channeling Mars opposite Pluto. I haven't got time for the esoteric, compassionate, empathic stuff. Although I'd love to, I am like that and I love to be like that.
Mhm.
However, what we're doing is destroying a generation.
Yes.
There's going to be a generation, primarily young men, who are going to be ruined. And when
Destroyed.
this has happened before, post World War II, post Vietnam War, this generation has then gone on to be a massive burden on society, both in terms of social care, welfare, because they're unable to cope with normal society because they've seen so much horror, but also they can turn violent
And kill themselves.
and kill themselves or kill others.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is all in the name of a few old men who are so out of touch with their feelings.
Well, they're power driven, aren't they? That's the thing. They want to,
Well, this is the real crime.
that's the
This is
real.
the real crime. And I got into serious trouble last week when I put up that video about religion. God, did I get some criticism? But I still stick to it.
Mm.
As long as there's conflict on my God is better than your God, we will have constant trauma in this world.
And particularly with the Abrahamic religions, you know, that's been yes, that I would say that particularly with the Abrahamic religions.
Also with the the Slavic stuff isn't basically based on religion, it's based on territory and
Yeah.
ego. But I mean, we concentrate on these areas, but every country
Mm.
has this representation of old men who
I think this is going
don't.
to shift though, Steve, with Pluto going into Aquarius. It's going to come out of Capricorn.
So one of the things I found on my travels, more
Mm.
and more through talking to all the different people I've talked to, is that there is a very, very strong, deep, powerful upsurge of the dark feminine rising now. And this is only going to get stronger over the coming months. And
Mm.
it's time for the older generation, of whom I am one, to step aside and allow a more middle-aged generation to come into power, with the older generation sitting as advisors,
Yes,
mentors, teachers, the elders,
elders, exactly. The wisdom of the elders.
wisdom of the elders, not ruling, because it doesn't work anymore.
Well, we only know one way of doing it. I don't know what it's like to be a young person in this world or what they need. They know what they need. They've got the vision, and we're kind of, we're heading up the other end of the conveyor belt now. And
Yeah.
I'm a passionate advocate for eldership and just sitting with listening to people. What do you
Have,
need?
have I have I have I told you my what's the word? The schedule for old age?
I don't think you have.
Well, bearing in mind that the average lifespan is about 80 to 84 years old in the Western world, anyway. So, yeah, halfway through life at 42.
Yep.
Right. So, 42, Saturn opposition, Uranus opposition, Neptune square, Pluto square, 3.5 Jupiter returns. So, 42 is the start of middle age. 42 to 59 is middle age, but that doesn't mean at 59-year-old. 59 to 68 is the classic era, like a
Absolutely.
classic car.
Absolutely.
68 to 76 is the veteran, where you don't need an MOT anymore. You don't need an examination to check you're working. 76 to 84 is elder, as in tribal elder,
Mm.
the wise man, the wise woman. 84 onwards, yeah, you're old,
I
elderly.
think so. Yes.
Yeah,
I don't count myself as old. I count myself as older.
yeah, me too.
At 71, coming up 72. I'm older.
Well,
A
coming
lot
back
of
to this
water
new
under my
moon,
bridge.
we've looked at all the difficulties, but the new moon itself, Sun conjunct Moon in Scorpio, is trining Saturn. Nice enough. And then immediately 2 weeks after that, there's going to be a full moon, Now, I've not done any preparation on this, but I'm looking at as I speak. And if I'm right, I think I'm right. Yeah, look at that. Ooh, the full moon. Ooh, the full moon, late in the evening on the 15th of November, UK time, is going to be it's going to be about 1 degree away from exactly conjuncting Uranus. Now, that also speaks of radical change.
It does, doesn't it?
It
I'm,
really does.
yeah,
By which time Mars is still opposite Pluto,
uh,
because we're going to have Mars opposite Pluto for 6 or 7 months now with
yeah,
its retrograde.
coming to and fro. Yeah,
Yeah. But it's
absolutely.
not so strong as it is now. Now is the critical time of the Mars Pluto opposition, followed by the last pass, which will be around April, May time.
Yeah. Yes, I think it's April. That's absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with Uranus conjunct the new moon,
Full
how,
moon.
well, sorry, full moon. How do you feel that that could manifest? I just feel it's going to be very pokey.
When I was in Greece, I got some new translations of Uranus.
Oh, yeah.
Um, it can truly be brutal, uncaring chaos. In certain ways, Uranus is absolutely the destroyer, not just the destroyer of people and situations, but destroyer of life and destroyer of time.
Story of
The
time.
ultimate anarchist. But
Right.
he's also the innovative, futuristic, and fresh starts and new beginnings.
Well, you have to have the breakdown to get the breakthrough. We have
Exactly. You can't have the breakthrough first.
absolutely. No, you
And I
can't.
think that new moon, that full moon, sorry, is going to be a critical full moon.
Well, it's in Taurus, which is the fixed Taurus that doesn't like change. And so you got Uranus right next door to it going, well, you do, whether you like
I
it or
kind of
not.
feel that a new moon is going to bring certain situations that are already either ongoing or just bubbling under very sharply into the focus. And by the full moon, we're
Yeah.
going to see resolution one way or the other.
Yes, which is going to, I think it's going to include some form of shock or explosion. It could be a massive volcano because it's in Taurus. It could be
Um, it
energy,
it could be, but
money.
Jupiter and Uranus are normally I look for geophysical stuff. I look at the heliocentric charts, and I find that not in more than 50% of big volcanoes and earthquakes, 50, but not 60. There's normally a strong angle between Jupiter and Uranus heliocentrically.
Mm.
That's not the case now. Because they're adjacent to each other. I was up at 5 a.m. this morning and I was looking out my door and I could see Jupiter so brightly just above Orion. Oh, it was gorgeous to see. And Mars to the left of Orion. Beautiful. Absolutely
I
beautiful.
think you're reminding us to look up and remember the awe.
How can if you can't go out and look in the sky, I can go out in the morning now and go, right, there's Jupiter, 21 degrees Gemini. There's Mars, 29 Cancer. So that's a 38-degree angle. And I'm looking at the ecliptic, I'm looking at the orbital path of the sun, and it's standing on Mars is at the end of Orion. I saw the two stars of Cancer underneath Orion because it's that time of year where you can. And so Orion is standing on top of the crab and he's holding his cudgel up, about to hit the bull. And the Pleiades is in the shoulder of the bull, and you can see the horns of Taurus with Aldebaran in the middle of the lower horn. The bull is charging Orion. The whole creation myth is up there.
Yes.
And if you can't see that, if you can't do astrology by looking at the sky, what's the point of doing it on a computer screen?
Yes, you have to look up. You have to remind yourself that we're part of this magnificent something else.
Yeah.
We're just expression. Well, we've talked about this before. I just feel like we're just this expression of creation in physical
Yeah.
form.
And I feel that where we are now, we're at the end of our apprenticeship. The human race is about to go through some type of transformation, either willingly or kicking and screaming, probably the latter, in a way that's going to change things forever. And it is a test of our evolution as a species. Are we fit to survive? Are we fit to evolve? Or, well, the alternative doesn't bear thinking about.
Well, it doesn't, but do you know what? We've always been evolving, though, Steve, haven't we? So
Yes, we have, but now the acceleration
you
is
think the
more and more
acceleration?
notable. Hey,
Yeah.
let's talk about the American election.
Oh, yes, let's.
Look, on the one hand, Harris has got that lovely opposition of Sun and Moon at 25 Aries Libra. I like that a lot. It tells me that despite all the nonsense, the unfounded, unproven nonsense, that she is a level headed person
Mm.
who's in touch with both her masculine and her feminine energies and who cares greatly for the world. However, I also note that Uranus is on Donald Trump's midheaven and that Jupiter in the sky is now standing still exactly on top of his sun and opposite his moon.
Yes.
So it's pretty clear to me that with Jupiter on his sun and moon now, and the full moon, hello, Cat, and the full moon on the 15th of November on his midheaven, that his story is going to get very, very large in the coming 3 to 4 weeks.
But it could implode, don't you
It
think?
could implode, it could explode, it could expand, it could grow phenomenally. He could win. He could win. Whether he becomes president or not is another matter. I know the polls have consistently said it's pretty much neck and neck with Harris having a 1 to 2% lead, but it's not based on the polls. It's based on individual states. And the reason I'm focusing on this is not because I care that much. It's because what happens in America affects the world.
Yes.
So,
Don't
but
you think that Uranus though in his on his chart would it is massive change or shock. So or newness. So for me, I'm wondering whether that would rather than him winning, it totally changes everything for him.
it also makes me question with Uranus being sudden shock and connected with electricity and heart and blood pressure, and
Yeah.
Jupiter expanding his sun and moon. He's recently said that he wants him and Harris to both sit for cognitive tests. I would say, well, why not? Let's just test both their cognitive abilities and their physical health.
Well, she's done hers.
She's
She's
published hers, he won't.
yes.
Yeah. So
Oh, about
I
him.
still find it very difficult to believe, man, and I can't get over my bias. I am biased. I have to own that. But
Mm.
astrologically, I still find it very difficult to believe that Trump will be president by January. Even if on the surface he wins the election, still got to get through that full moon. And
Yes.
I'm not convinced.
I'm not. He may. There's something going to shocking happen, or surprising, or a massive change, or something. It isn't going to be clear, plain sailing. Absolutely not. And I think,
Melania's a Taurus, isn't she?
sorry.
Melania's a Taurus.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
Hmm. Oh well, watch this space.
Yes. The other thing I think for me with Kamala Harris is her Jupiter, the transit Jupiter, doesn't touch her ascendant. It stays in her 12th house. And that's why, if it was going over her ascendant, I would say she's got it in the bag. But it doesn't. It stays in her 12th house. And that's why I don't know about her either. I'm not sure. Don't know. We'll have to wait
Well,
and see, but it's all, it's we're almost there.
we are. probably by the next time we speak, the election will be over.
It will be. We'll be going, oh, yeah. It's
So,
And I should just to say to everyone, and when we talked about this before we started recording, it is pokey out there, isn't it, Steve? We know that the energy is really, really uncomfortable now. But just to take care of yourself, and if you feel like you're being overwhelmed by watching the news all the time, turn it off. Just give yourself a break and find strategies to bring your anxiety down. Take some breath, go for walks, go into
yeah,
nature, look up at the heavens.
we've had some killer full moons and eclipses this year, and we've had the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. It's been a hell of a year. It's still going on. Where we are now is not so much the extremes of this year in terms of the ongoing pressure. Where we are now is much more incisive. And there is a serious risk, both at the individual and the global level, in the short term future of rash, impulsive, incisive decisions, actions, and explosive behavior, which will later be regretted by everyone. And that's why I'm saying to people, I'm echoing you, I'm saying to people, look, from now through to Guy Fawkes night, uh,
And beyond.
very synchronistic.
Yeah. Yes.
Be cautious.
Yeah.
Don't deliberately choose not to let your buttons get pushed, because anger eats you from the inside out, and anger is one of the biggest causes of cancer, in my opinion.
And also explosive anger, you might really regret it. So just find, that attack. And you think, God, why did I do that? So as we're both saying to you, find strategies, look at, feel, understand what you're feeling, and find strategies to lower the the adrenaline in your body, the anxiety.
Yeah,
You're
yeah, yeah,
frightened, you lash out. You either run away or you lash out. So
yeah.
just very, very cautious. And also, if you're in a relationship and it gets dodgy in the relationship, just make sure you've got somewhere safe to go.
Yeah, and take turns listening to each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And listening and find information about listening skills. Yeah, good listening skills.
Meantime,
Meantime, you've been filming.
mate, 41 days. Marrakesh, Cordoba, which was awesome. Seville, which was just too damn hot for me.
Mm.
London, Mortlake, where I spent a day with in the energy of John D. Wells, Glastonbury, Avebury, a curious little film studio just to the southwest of Bath, which happened spontaneously, no names mentioned.
Of course not. They might even actually there it was filmed on the other way.
It's all going to be on the documentary, folks. And then Salzburg to see the tomb of Paracelsus. Vienna and Salzburg, where I literally fell into the energy pattern of Mozart, and it consumed me. No, it didn't consume me. It absorbed me. I became caught up in Mozart's energy field. I did a video. My energy was low, so I did a video on the horoscope of Mozart. And someone saw me and said, "Hey, I'm the curator of the Mozart Museum. We've got a free concert happening in 5 minutes, and there's 2 seats spare. Do you want them?" So me and my producer ended up going into a 45-minute piano and violin Mozart recital. I cried my eyes out.
Yeah.
Um,
He
and
was
then
sick.
and then Thessaloniki. Within an hour of landing, I was in a car on my way up Mount Olympus. I saw the wall of Prometheus, the caves of Chiron and Orpheus. I saw the fire of the gods above Mount Olympus.
Wow.
And there's some great pictures, which those on my membership have already seen, and I'm putting some more out. There'll be more with the video, with the documentary. So, and then to Delphi, the Oracle at Delphi, I forget the name of it, Castilian Spring, the actual Omphalos, the navel of the world, the Temple of Apollo, and and then interviewing a fascinating 30-year-old Greek astrologer whom you've interviewed, who's had some fascinating
Horrible.
ideas on how to separate myth from astrology and to reshape our idea of gender in astrology, which is amazing.
He's called Aleko for anybody. Aleko Gomez for
Yeah,
anyone who's interested.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll put
Followed
the
the
link
next
in.
day by talking with another Greek astrologer in the shadow of the Parthenon, the Acropolis, the temple of Palatha Athena. Um, where he's been studying astrology 51 years. So between us, we've got 100 years of study of astrology, and his ideas on the dark feminine and the nature of astrology before the Titans, before Uranus and Gaia,
Wow.
just amazing. And then we jumped on a plane to Rome, and very good and very bad. I really didn't like the Colosseum because we all got angry at each other, and we was in a place where there was just tens of thousands of people have been slaughtered there for fun and amusement. It was dark.
Mm.
People were getting married there. I was like,
Yeah, I know. Oh,
that's the
Steve, you froze.
Pantheon,
Yeah, you're
the
frozen.
Pantheon. Am I?
No,
Hang on.
you're back. You're back.
Right.
Yeah, you're
So,
back.
so the Colosseum was dark, but the Pantheon was amazing. It was exactly 43.3 meters diameter and 43.3 meters high. They knew their geometry. And then we went to the Basilica de Santa Maria degli Angeli, the Santa Maria of the Angels. And there's a meridian line with a hole in the church roof, a little hole, where the sun shines through and lines up on the meridian line, the length of the basilica, with all the signs of the zodiac each side.
Um,
And they do this to check the calendar's still in line each year.
mm.
And it's midday every day. The sun shines along that line, regardless of its latitude. And and at the end of it, one of the crew turned around to me and said, "Come out the back. We've got something to show you." I said, "What?" I said, "We're not going to tell you. We want to film your reaction." All right. So I went out the back, and there's this 30-foot cast iron statue of Galileo, and that broke me. I got down on my knees in front of it.
Oh,
And
God.
then we went to Bologna, and Bologna is just gorgeous. It's a whole city based on astrology. It's set out to a zodiac, and it's got
Wow.
12 gates around the outside on the ring road, each a gate for each sign of the zodiac.
Now I didn't know that.
And it's got so much astrology there. However, it's also where Da Ferreira, the teacher of Copernicus, and Cecco d'Ascoli, the last professor of astrology, were both burnt at the stake in front of the cathedral. So, then we
Bloody.
went to Florence, and it was full of tourists. I couldn't get into some of the places, but I did get into the big basilica on the outskirts of town. And then again, I broke because I found myself kneeling in front of the tomb of Galileo, and immediately opposite him in the same basilica, the tomb of Michelangelo,
Yeah.
and right next to him, the tomb of Machiavelli.
Yes.
Can you
It's
imagine the party those
incredible.
guys are having upstairs?
Yeah.
And then we went to the Galileo Museum where I saw his compass and the telescopes he actually saw the moons of Jupiter with. I mean, that guy single-handedly put the final nail in the coffin of the Catholic Church's ideas of the Earth as being as the center of the universe.
Yeah.
We owe Galileo so much.
Mm. It was the time, wasn't it? It was the time for that to be that myth to be exploded out.
And it was only 400 years ago this was happening, 350 years ago. It's only
Yeah.
10 generations of people ago.
It's incredible, isn't it?
We were still burning people at the stake 10 generations ago for what they believe. Well, we still are now. We're still stoning them to death for what they believe.
And
Some things haven't changed.
absolutely. Yeah, murdering them. Yeah, absolutely. I'm afraid on that level we haven't changed. But Steve, I can't wait to see this film. I'm so excited that you've done it. And it's
First, I'm going in the studio now for 9 weeks for content,
yeah,
backdrop, green screen stuff. And we want the first 4 episodes on pre-600 AD, the Greeks, the Romans, and then the Romans through to the Moors, to the beginning of the Renaissance. We want this to be out by the end of February. And then the stuff on the Renaissance, magical England, the development of astrology in the Americas, and then back to Europe with Kepler and the Newton and the Edwardian and Georgian stuff, the discovery of the new planets, and then finally moving into the next decade or two. That should be out by May. It's well, I'm not going to boast. You know what I've put into this, both energetically and financially. It's taken everything.
You've answered the call of the universe, because it's the time for this to happen.
It's the right time. And so many people have stepped up. I've come out of the woodwork to help.
Yeah.
I mean, in Greece, a lady just phones up on the day before we went and said, "Oh, I'm a Greek student of astrology. I know all the best astrologers and I can get your hotels really cheap. Do you want some help?" In Vienna, one of my students turns around and says, "I can be free that week. Do you want some help?" Everywhere we've gone, people have come out of the woodwork and said, "I really want to support you with what you're doing. How can I help?"
It just shows you're in the flow. It's time for this to happen.
The universe wants this to happen.
Yeah, it does. Well, I think on that beautiful note, we'll draw this conversation to a close. So, Steve, I hope I know you're going off for a lovely break and a well-deserved a few days break, and I hope you have a wonderful time. And we'll find out what happens in the edit suite.
Yeah, we'll speak again. I don't know. Well, I think it'd be good to speak again sometime just around the full moon in mid-November.
Definitely. All right, then. We'll see each other then.
Catch you later, folks.